Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain on a day like today? It's not going to be me. Things are going great. Who could complain? I am definitely not going to be the one. Not at all. Trump 2028, says French Fry. Oh boy, is it ever a Trump 2028 day. We're going to enjoy that stuff. Wherefore, the rather, brethren, given diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, ye shall never fail. 2 Peter 1:10. Thanks for that, Chef Zero. Blessings, fellow Bampians, indeed. Seaberger asks, good morning. Inquiring minds would like to know if the Clarity Act will ever get passed. Are there too many opposing forces? No, I think it'll get done. I do think it'll get done. It's kind of necessary. So I think it'll be a priority. I haven't looked into it in the last minute, but where I left off, as far as I understand, it will go through. But I will endeavor to bring that. Maybe if I see something today or tomorrow, I'll give you a new update. But last I checked, it was almost a guarantee. We'll see how it relates to Trump putting the SAVE Act onto the reconciliation bill. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but they're pushing a bunch of stuff through before July 4th. And wasn't it on the schedule for July 4th? Wasn't that the timing? Anyway, we'll have a look. Good morning, Nolan and Great Awakening crew from a storm-battered Chicagoland, and another day of severe weather ahead. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen, they had a tremendous weather storm in Chicago, and the pictures that I saw that went viral about the Windy City, because if you don't know, if you're not from America or not aware of the euphemisms we use to describe various American cities, Chicago is the Windy City because it sits on the Great Lakes and the Great Plains and gets a ton of wind. And it was picking up the picture that I saw, the video that I saw that went kind of viral were lounge chairs, like pool chairs, like, you know, those long chairs, the chaises that people get sun on. They were just getting picked right up and thrown into some great big boulevard next to, I guess, some kind of hotel. It was the things coming off of the pool, the chairs coming off from around the pool. Because they're long and they have that mesh, they were just getting lifted like sails and just deposited on a pretty fast moving boulevard, you know, kind of road that everyone's driving 40 miles an hour or something. So imagine you're driving 40 miles an hour and then a fucking beach chair lands on your car. And it was one after the other that I saw. They were just flying off. But indeed, we got some crazy weather stuff happening in America right now. I have another picture of one of the huge storms picking up. This is tornado season, by the way, if you guys aren't aware. So if you're also not from America and you're not aware that we actually have a season called tornado season, it's the most frightening thing you'll ever think of weather-wise. I guess tsunami is pretty bad, but I actually have pictures of the Philippine earthquake as well. Some amazing, amazing images of what's going on over there. Escape the Matrix says, and I got my cotton, Bitcoin, and Pepe socks yesterday. Was a great day. Let me actually bring that up right now. It was called Cape Cotton, right? Cape Cotton, and the website should be there. Cape Cotton Bitcoin socks. Yeah, there we go. Cape Cotton socks. Really excellent stuff, guys. We're big fans, that's for sure. And here is what you've got Escape the Matrix talking about. It's some really high quality things. I got the Pepe ones if anyone's interested in Pepe socks, but all cotton. It's the whole thing, right? It's almost impossible to find real cotton anything. And this really nice girl and her mom, these are the ones I have right here, the Smug Pepe crew sock. I was actually wearing them yesterday. And my kids get a big kick out of them because the bottom Pepe on the sole of the foot is giving the middle finger. They think that's just the funniest thing they've ever seen. They simply cannot handle it. They think it is so funny. My kids have this. So I had a pair of cotton underwear, cotton boxers that began to rip the other day. This happens all the time, just from putting them on right where the elastic hits the cotton, just from your pulling them up and then, putting them around your waist. Over time, these things had started to develop a hole. And as a joke, my wife pulled on the hole and ripped the underwear mostly off. And she just did this like randomly before, I don't know, morning breakfast at something like that. I was making the kids something. Everyone had just woken up, and the kids thought it was so funny. They have not stopped laughing about it for days. Real fun stuff. So there's the Cape Cotton stuff. They're not a sponsor of mine or anything like that. We just love them and love the product, and attest that my wife has spent numerous hours, many hours, looking for cotton socks, cotton underwear. Really hard to find, but there it is, guys. We got the golden age coming in, very golden age themes today on the show, and we're finally getting the socks and underwear we need to enjoy the golden age. So great products from this great entrepreneur. We love it. We love it. We love it. So if you're looking for socks, go for it. Fucking awesome. And the owner is a Bitcoiner, of course. Yeah, those look awesome. Yeah, they are good. And I love them. Yeah, exactly. You should, Bitcoin Deb, talk soap swap with them or something. We got soap, CB Van at Soap Miner. Use code COUNTBTC. Here, let me share this right now. Soap Miner in the house. And indeed, CB Van saying he's out of the soap. He needs more. Let me get this up. We want the old chat up. There's the code right there for CB Van, and that is Soap Miner. Now this thing is doing stupid stuff, so I already figured you were behind on orders. Oh, CB Van already ordered. I see. There it is. There's the code. I don't know why I don't have full control over what you guys are seeing here, but there it is. Soap Miner with the website and the discount code. Go for it, folks. We love it. We love the Soap Miner product. Glad you love it, Bitcoin Deb. Cape Cotton, indeed. That's what it's called. I think they're from Cape Cod, so they went with the Cape Cotton. So everyone's happy. Everyone's happy. And indeed, the Knicks pulled off the biggest comeback in finals history. Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit today. I have a couple weird stories today in the sense that stuff we're not used to looking at here, a little bit of sports ball news, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's acknowledge first that's a sunrise. We're doing great. Bitcoin also running. It's not catastrophe in the Bitcoin price markets today. We're at 62,000. Almost 63,000 US trash tokens for a Bitcoin. We're doing great, everyone. Let's have a coffee, talk about what's new. Oh, Soap Miner got done with a new scent. I didn't see that. Rosemary tallow. Sorry, I missed that note. Soap Miner, that looks amazing. That looks amazing. Rosemary tallow. Wonderful. My kids had a bit of a business the past few days, and serenity prayer for us Bitcoiners today. My kids had a little business running the past couple of days, selling some shell jewelry they had made. Shells they'd picked from Barbados over the years, and they had some jewelry kit stuff, and they put it all together, and they did really well. They made a lot of money, actually. So a couple $100, believe it or not, and they were selling for pretty cheap. But my kids are really good salesmen, real New York style kids on the street. Get your handmade jewelry with shells from Barbados, and everyone was loving it. So they're a little too cute to not buy from. So they did really well. I stayed away too. I could see them, but stayed away. So it was cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Very, very cool. All right. So we got our coffee. We're doing great. Let's talk about some news today. See what is going on. It's not going well for the NPCs. It's not going well. They're having some troubles. Let us talk about it. We did get more thermostat news. I was worried that the thermostat days were over. and that we were going to be left adrift. But thank God we had a few reinforcements today in the news. So thank God we're going to be able to cover it accurately. There's some big changes going on in the world of the thermostats. You're going to be very surprised today. Real crazy stuff. Let me find it. Yeah, there it is. No. Yeah, that should be it. Why does it say that's an AOL one? Hold on. That doesn't quite make sense. All right, whatever. Who cares? Don't understand. No, that just doesn't make sense. Oh, there it is. That's why it doesn't make sense. Motherfuckers. I had two the same, but they're from different publications. They shared the headline. I'll get rid of one. That'll make my life easier. There we go. All right, now we're ready. Here we are. Here we are. There we go, guys. Does cranking the thermostat down cool your house faster? We need to know. This is like I said, you come at this with without a strategy, and there's a lot of moving parts here, right? So the question is, it's almost philosophical. If you really put it low, right? If you go extra low, does it go faster? Inevitably it'll be cooler, but does it go faster? We don't know. We just don't know. Here we find out what's the get out of here, you bastards. What's the temperature to set your thermostat during the summer? What experts say. This is in Kentucky. So Kentucky now enters the chat. Thank God. Now we'll know Ed Gallerin. This comes straight from Ed. These are the Kentucky members of Congress, right? That's what he was elected for, to keep if we don't get Kentucky on the rights here, we're in big trouble. It is 78 degrees as well. Thank God it's also 70. This is making it easier. Here's what we know from New York. We get other stories from New York now, right? Here's what we get from New York. How to optimize your New York home for the summer heat. Ideal AC temperature. Victoria here, the New York Connect team. She was talking with the experts. She got some expert opinion, right? With high temperatures soon predicted to land in the Empire State. It's smart to plan ahead and determine the best temperature. So we got to plan ahead, guys. Okay. It's not just like I said, you don't just walk, I'm feeling hot, and then you go to your thermostat and then you just try and figure it out on the fly. No, plan ahead. Okay. You need a strategy. People are worried about AI disintermediating jobs and all that stuff. I mean, I think we need more air conditioning experts and thermostat experts, because this is tough stuff, right? This is tough stuff. So here we know, right? What should you set your thermostat for the summer? It's also 78 degrees in New York. Each degree above 75 degrees will save 3% on cooling prices, right? So that's what we know in New York. Very similar, thank God, to the other places. Now, this is these are the strategies that you just don't hear about in the regular news, and it's just not easy when, like I said, it's a dynamic environment with these temperatures, right? Now, some people have been hearing about the combination of the fan and the air conditioner. Well, we have a lot to say about that here. How to create, okay, now it's called a wind chill effect. All right, how to create a wind chill effect in your home without lowering the thermostat. I didn't know what this could possibly mean at first. I was like, wind chill effect. How do I get the wind chill in my house? It turns out this is what they've been talking about with the fan, thermostat, air conditioner combo, right? You add it all up and then you can get wind chill in your house. Some people say it's just turn a fan on. No. That's the broke way. That's the old way. No. What you do now is you say, I want a wind chill effect in my house. I'm going to turn the fan on. And that's what happens. Summer can be brutal. in the South, with temps reaching triple digits, guys. Did you know that? Did you know the South is hot? Now you know, right? Fortunately, there are ways that can help cool without cranking the thermostat too much. You can create a wind chill effect indoors that helps your body feel more comfortable while potentially reducing cooling costs. The secret is understanding how moving air affects the way we experience temperature. Okay, you need to understand how you experience the temperature, guys. It's not that simple, right? You think, oh, I'm just sitting in front of a fan. No, you're experiencing the temperature, and you have to think, you have to understand how this works, right? While fans don't actually lower the temperature of a room, they help evaporate moisture from your skin and move heat away from your body, creating the sensation of cooler. Now you understand what I know. You were just wondering, like, you know, when in 2001 A Space Odyssey, when the monkeys meet the monolith and they're bah, 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 bah. It's the same, right? You go to the fan and you touch it and it hits you and you're like, ah, why is this thing on? It's a great mystery. What is going on? It turns out it's because exactly when air moves across your skin, it accelerates the evaporation. All right, now you know. This is why a room with good airflow often feels more comfortable than one with stagnant air. Can you believe? I told you the golden age would come with revelations about the way the world works, that we would be able to recalculate our world views and things would change very quickly. Here it is. We finally have cracked the mystery. Creating that gentle breeze indoors can be a significant difference during the hot summers. I know Bitcoin Deb was complaining last year. She didn't have air conditioning. She's up in New Hampshire. They don't normally need it. She's like, I don't know if I get it. Well, now you know there's more to it, Bitcoin Deb. You had other options. These options are important, right? Thank you so much. I wonder what those things with the blades inside my house were. Now you know. And not only do you know what they are, you know how it works. You understand the architecture, right? You now understand it. So we have a gentle breeze. Put ceiling fans to work. Create cross ventilation through the house. You thought using a fan was simple? It's not even close, right? You also need a strategy. Strategies. Use portable fans strategically. If you're not coming into your home with a strategy, with the thermostat and the fans, just move to Canada and apply for MAID, okay? Because you can't make it. The world is getting harder and more complicated as we go forward. If you can't keep up with this stuff, if you don't understand the wind chill effect that you can induce in your own house without using the thermostat, you're probably not going to make it. Not going to make it. Really important stuff, right? Really, really important stuff. So we just need to be mindful. We need to remember this stuff. And now, I know I've been telling you how to operate these things for a while, and we've been coming up with our strategies, but I'm going to move now to the more philosophical level when talking about these air conditioners, because here's what we actually have to contemplate. It's not even just about having a strategy for your air conditioner and your thermostat and your fan. We got to ask the existential questions, right? Air conditioning versus climate change. Necessary or incompatible? I don't know, guys. This whole air conditioning thing might be ending the world. It might not be possible because of the climate change. It might be adding to the climate change. All right. That's why this stuff is hard, because you go to the air conditioner, you say, I'm hot, I want it to be colder. Well, little did you know, you're actually spending your capacity to fight against the heat in the future, because every time you turn your air conditioner on, it's going to make it harder next time because you've actually added the greenhouse gases now. So now, tomorrow, just like we hear, this is the hottest May in the history of the world, right? So this May is harder in the world to heat your house than it was last May. That's because of all the people who used air conditioning in the past year, with the farts and the burps and the cars and other stuff too. But that's what has created this problem. So eventually the air conditioner, according to this philosophical logic, is just not going to work at a certain point. It's going to collapse. The whole infrastructure won't be able to survive. This is, I used to, as a joke as a kid, because electricity is so cheap in Quebec, One of my first houses, we used to do this all the time. We would leave the air conditioner and the heater on in the same room and see who could win, right? Just see who's going to win. We'd come back and say, well, who won the fight, the heater or the air conditioner? And usually the heater won. So that should tell you everything you need to know about the philosophical conundrum we live in. The heat always wins, right? So now we got to go through all of this stuff. And air conditioning is the typical example where mitigation, emission reduction, and adaptation come together. That's it. So philosophically, guys, we gotta really open our minds, right? It's like this. It's the same kind of philosophy that applies here. Get out of here. What just happened? South Asia monsoon risks both floods and drought. So a monsoon, all right, you didn't know this, but scientists are here to let us know that monsoons also create droughts, right? South Asian communities face serious hazards from intense rains this season, even though the approaching monsoon is expected to bring lower than normal rains overall, risking drought, experts warned on Thursday. So it's not going to rain enough. The monsoons are not going to be big. It's only going to be a little bit of enough rain to flood and drown and kill everybody. But they need a little more. All right. They need a little more. Speaking of needs a little more, right? We need a little more democracy in the South. This is Mara Gay. Remember Mara Gay? She was the one who was like, all that money Elon Musk spent, he could have given everyone $1 million. No, Bloomberg. It was Bloomberg. Remember, Bloomberg spent $380 million, right? I'm going to do the math, right? He could have given everyone $1 million. So she's the real analytical person. She's a writer for the New York Times. And here she says, the effort to destroy Black political power in the South is among the greatest betrayals of Black Americans and those who voted alongside them by the federal government in living memory. So that's Mara Gay. Thank you, Mara Gay. We get this. You're not going to believe what Trump's up to, guys. You remember Trump, right? He's especially bad against the Black people. And we know that because he was giving refugee status and a route to refugee claimants to white South Africans, right? Because he said they were getting murdered, right? That's what he said. Now, I know you saw images of a whole stadium singing Kill the White and all that, right? Yeah, right. It was just a song. It's just a euphemism. But look at what a failure that stupid Trump is. Look at this from NBC News. White South African applicants say they feel forgotten under Trump's refugee program. Look at this. More than half a dozen. There could be even 7 or 8 people that are upset about Trump in South Africa. 7 or 8 white people are upset about Trump in South Africa. They applied and then no word. So you got 7 or 8 people out there, right? Thank God New York, the NBC is on top of this. 7 or 8 people out there are like, where's my application to the federal government? I sent an email and they didn't even get a response, right? And and meanwhile they're waiting, but hold on. What about waiting, right? Look what the byline does here, right? As they wait, they say they face violent racial discrimination. Experts refute that. So why are these 7 or 8 people even applying to come to America? We got experts saying, no, it's fine to be white in South Africa. It's like it's a party. It's great. Just go hang out. It's awesome. Everybody loves it, right? Everybody loves it. It's so good. It's so great. So look at this headline. Let's read it one more time. It's perfect. White South African applicants say they feel forgotten under Trump's refugee program. More than half a dozen. That's not 6, 7, 8, 9. This could be 9 white people who haven't had their application responded to. Fucking Trump. God damn it. He said he was going to help. And here we got all this problem, right? It's not even a problem though, because these white people, they're not even facing any risks. Experts say it's fine. It's fine. No big deal. No big deal. Totally stupid. Trump again. Dumb, right? And look at this. People with the Carmelo Anthony thing, right? Rittenhouse walked. Anthony got 35 years. The cases differ, but American judges fear by tribe. not law. It's obviously Rittenhouse. He just went out there and blew people away, right? Just like Carmelo Anthony, who was innocent. He was fine. He was cool. We get this. This is ABC's Mary Bruce, right? She's letting us know that Republican senator is pouncing on oyster farmer Democrat Graham Plattner, right, for a tattoo resembling a Nazi symbol, right? It's only resembling. Why is she complaining? Pouncing. She's pouncing. Quit pouncing. We get this. I was thinking about this too, right? I was wondering what the Democrats were going to do in the 2028 election because Newsome, it's not going great, right? AOC probably not ready for prime time. But the New York Times helped me out here. If you are cooking up an ideal 2028 candidate in a lab, and let's face it, it's probably a he, would look a lot like John Ossoff. I don't know who he is, but he's perfect. He's perfect. He's so good. He's so good. We love him. He's great. We can't get enough of him. So there it is. That is the fake news of the day, everybody. Oh no, what just happened? Okay, no, I think I'm okay. Not quite, actually. Hold on. I got something screwed up here. 1 second. I'll fix it. Or I won't. Huh? Oh, no, there, I did fix it. Okay, I figured out what was wrong. Okay, so we're going to start a little different today. I just want to look at a few. I take a sip of coffee. That's our NBC News of the day, by the way. I want to look at a few weather things, and then I'm going to show you something very special if you haven't seen it yet. And then after that, we're going to get into our main narrative and main stuff. First, though, I want to show you this. There are just a few crazy images taken yesterday that I thought were interesting. This one was there was a big earthquake in the Philippines the other day, and I guess a tsunami came out of it. But just look at this. There's some people out on a little raft here, so they're sort of unaffected by it. It was a 7.8, so a big one. Just look at the mountain crashing inside. Craziest videos I've ever seen. Look at it go. I've been in a few earthquakes, but 7.8. It's like exponentially. Absolutely terrible. I've never seen an earthquake. Incredible stuff. And here's another. What the hell is going on? Okay, well, doesn't matter. Here's another crazy image I found with a supercell over Nebraska. So all that crazy wind you're getting in Chicago.
An incredible supercell by Sydney, Nebraska.
Look at this.
Look at these textures. They are absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Look at the blues at the top.
I mean, almost like
I am on an incredible.
Totally crazy. Totally crazy. And if that is not crazy enough, in terms of nature, let me share some amazing and beautiful images yesterday from the Sagrada Familia, which opened in Barcelona. and I want to share this with you because it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. I got the good fortune to visit this cathedral back in 2020, and it wasn't completed yet. It's almost completed. 144 years of construction. Let me please share this video with you because now there's longer versions of this. The Pope was there. There was a whole ceremony. This is kind of an abridged version. I have two quick videos I want to share with you, but the music, everything, just one of the most beautiful Catholic nights I've ever seen performed, and this is what they're good at. This is the closing ceremony of last night. This is the first time this tower has been lit as well. I had no idea about all this light stuff. I knew the windows brought light in the day, but I didn't know any of these other features. No one did. I know not everyone likes this thing. I do. I think it's impressive. And that's Gaudi himself. Yeah, and I'll share one more. I see people have seen it, but I do want to share. This was one moment that wasn't in my little highlight package that I also want to share. And this is the moment the interior begins to light, and it was cut out of that Resident building. I don't know if it needed so many fireworks at the end, but anyway, like I said, as bad things happen in the world, the signs of the golden age are coming through loud and clear. This ceremony yesterday, just one of those examples of the golden age. And the church, for all its faults, the Catholic Church and the communism and stuff, I think they'll take care of it and figure it out. And seeing what we saw yesterday in Barcelona gives me a lot of who is the Skyface? That was Gaudi, the architect of the whole thing, the designer. A lot of beautiful Gaudi buildings if you go around Barcelona. A beautiful park. I have some just gorgeous pictures of my children playing there's a park nearby here up on the hills. The whole thing is built by Gaudi, so it all looks like some kind of Tim Burton wonderland. Walkways and playgrounds and an amazing, amazing place. So signs of the golden age, there's even more, right? So the Catholics may be getting their house in order. The Protestants may be even getting their house in order. Here we see the Southern Baptists vote to advance a formal ban on churches with women pastors. You love to see it. Pardon me if there are women in the audience who believe that women should also be leaders of the church. As a Protestant, not a Catholic, I always envied the Catholics about this. They were correct to ban women from that role. The Bible is very clear on it. And seeing the Protestants now finally starting to take this seriously, people coming together. It's not just the Catholics and the Protestants aligning on this stuff. They're aligning over in Ireland as well. Here's one of the most amazing stories of that whole thing going on in Belfast. Here, this is journalism. Look at what real journalism is supposed to look like. Look at this unheard article. Belfast after the beheading by Eris Ruzinos. He writes, the nightmare scenario for Sinn Féin would have been Catholics rioting against immigrants. That did not happen. Instead, working class Catholics merely turned out to watch their Protestant neighbors riot with an anthropological detachment newly devoid of open contempt. I have never until now heard working class Catholics from devoutly Republican areas talking about the coming together of the orange and the green with anything other than derision. At Ardoyne Roundabout, one of North Belfast's most volatile sectarian interface areas, protesters from both communities shook hands and declared amity in scenes that were genuinely startling. And just incredible, right? People coming together like that. You just don't see this kind of stuff often. And the church looks like it's coming together and healing. Another example of the good and the bad of coming together, right? You don't capitulate to come together. There's standards you have to keep. Yesterday in the United States, this example came out. There was a baseball game, the congressional baseball game. And this should give you some hope for the youth in America. Here you go. Here, these high school kids that were working for the GOP. So last night at the Washington National Stadium, this happens. If you remember a couple of years ago, they tried to kill Steve Scalise. That was this baseball game. So now they're at the big ballpark. Lots of people come out. It's a big deal. I'll show you a highlight of it in a second. But here yesterday, the young high school kids were getting taunted by Dem staffers. So 20, 30-year-olds trying to taunt young teenagers. And here, just to give you a sense of what's coming generationally and why being cool, right? Remember, you can guarantee on one thing when it comes to young people: they will rebel against their parents and the dominant political cultural structures. It's nature, right? They like to rebel. It's part of growing up. And for a whole generation, rebelling meant rebelling against sort of conservatism. But that's now flipping. The young people are rebelling against their teachers that carry fart faces whenever they talk about the weather and the heat and their thermostat. The people who really believe you need a thermostat strategy and that there's morality involved in running your fan when you're not around, and all these kind of people, right? And so they're rebelling against it, of course, right? That's why young people we've seen since Trump 2016 has begun the process of being a rebel, being associated with youth and the conservative sense. And here again, the division here is so encouraging. The young people do not want to continue this facade of coexisting. Good. And here we go. Isn't it great to see young people rebel against libtards? Just, irreverent. You love the irreverence, right? The irreverence. Here was the game. GOP won 11-2. Eric Schmidt was the MVP. Here they are in the park. These are all congressional. Here's the catch he made.
Struck to left field.
Pretty nice catch. Pretty nice. Bleeding in his face.
Eric Schmidt. Amazing catch down the left field.
Looks like a good ball player. So Republicans whipped Democrat ass yesterday, and Speaking of sports wins, this is pretty good, right? Here's the shot that will live forever in New York. This capped off the largest comeback in the history of the NBA Finals, 29 points down. And here's the last couple of seconds, 4 seconds of the game. And this is what happened. Knicks won by a single point, 4 point, 3 point, 3 point, 3.7. Here's the basket. Didn't get it in, but this rebound was everything. That's when basketball's pretty cool, huh? That's the end. 3-1 now. Knicks ought to be the NBA champions this year. As Barstool Sports says here, will be engraved in Knicks fans' heads for years. So, sporting world coming together, amazing stuff. And speaking of sporting world, here's the other last and final sports story I have. World Cup launches today, everyone, in Mexico. Here's what's going on. They did a drone show yesterday in Mexico. We got all the nations of the world coming together. All the nations who made it. Funny thing, though, I do have an interesting connection to the World Cup nation. And it's important because you know the difference between the Olympics. So in the Olympics, it's kind of on the UN platform. So the United Kingdom has a team. There is no thing. It's not Scotland, Northern Ireland. And soccer has a sovereign nation. England, Northern Ireland have all these countries that are not part of the UN. These are sovereign nations, not part of any infrastructure. And remember that because it's going to be one of our themes later today. That was one of the big scams that existed in the UK. The creation of the UK itself was the beginning of this supranational infrastructure that was designed to subdue sovereign nations like Wales and Scotland and England. That's why they've all been blended into the original mosaic of multiculturalism, which is now spread out everywhere into other countries. But that's where the model comes from. That's why England and the UK is still this model and still a belligerent in the war that we're going to be talking about and fighting against. So there you go. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. And speaking of the World Cup, right, it's brought all these characters who are in America to enjoy it. Here's a great one from the Japanese. This is like the fellow we were talking about yesterday, the Freddie guy from Germany, who everyone's celebrating. He's become a big celebrity for his account, enjoying America. There's a Japanese doing it too. Here he is in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a view so stunning, it feels like a lie. He's another one of these accounts that's just having a great time in America. Unforgettable sight. Hot chicken sandwich, Nissan Stadium. So he's in Nashville, having a good time, getting his chicken on, getting his Southern foods on. Here he is enjoying an American lunch. I'm truly astonished by the overwhelming response this post has received. Just a picture of food. He's got 1 million views. I've always said all of the biggest things I've ever put on Twitter were always just food that I cooked, which is crazy, right? Every time I've cooked a meal, it's just gotten, I don't know how many views. Maybe I'll start putting all my meals on. I don't know. Seems to work. People love it, right? People love seeing food pics. Here's the latest from Freddie, and he's on the coast somewhere in Texas, I guess, on his way to Houston for the beginning of the World Cup, saying, I could live here. And he's just some random part of the Gulf Coast enjoying his life and got some Spanish moss hanging there. Now, what we're seeing is just a lot of fun in the sense that we've got these foreigners coming to America and observing America for the first time in a new light. Of course, there's all this international propaganda. As we were saying yesterday, even that the public infrastructure in America sucks compared to the rest of the world is true, but the private stuff doesn't. The homes don't. That's where the real difference is in America. The average person's home is the largest in the world. It's the most amazing personal homes. Yeah, maybe they're not made out of brick as often. They're made out of wood, and that sort of shocks people because they don't last forever because they're made of wood and things like that. So seeing this reverence that people have for America, just noticing the little things like this, the homes, right? The homes are really what sets America apart in a lot of ways. But you're seeing this, what I think is a golden age type appreciation for America and what's going on in our beautiful homeland. And indeed, when we think about this appreciation, and one of the predictions that I made was, and for a while now, that you're going to start enjoying the full visibility of the golden age, seeing foreigners come to America and just be blown away by average things going on, average homes, average neighborhoods, just being blown away by the course of development that America's taken and the way the society is configured. That's what we're building the golden age off of. That's where it comes from, and that's where it's going to continue. It is this stuff, right? It is this kind of infrastructure. It is these kinds of buildings. And so I told you from the beginning of the Iranian war that the golden age would become visible in June in time for the 250th celebrations through the summer and then through the autumn and all this stuff. So yesterday in the president's press conference, and I said the Iranian war would mostly be wrapped up by then, right? These are things that I said. These are things I've consistently said. These are things that I believe. These are predictions I've made, and the reasons I've made them are many, but all the way things were forming and showing up. And then yesterday, Trump came out and did that press conference. And in the press conference, Trump admitted that they have been controlling the Strait of Hormuz for weeks, maybe, and have gotten 100 million barrels of oil out. And it was only just discovered by the Iranians. That's why Trump didn't mind telling everyone what was going on. So here he is yesterday in his press conference, which we covered live on Roxham TV. Here he is yesterday admitting about this oil and what they've been doing. And we'll get into the implications. I just want to show you him admitting it, talking about yesterday, because the implications are vast and great and really show on the time.
It's coming down. I know you can't. It's going to come down like a rock. And again, we're taking out millions, which I'm just announcing today for the first time. But we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil. Millions of barrels. Every night we took out oil. But now I'm going to tell you because they just figured it out. So now that they figured it out, I can tell you. It was very hard for me. I wanted to say it so badly, but I didn't want to ruin it.
That's
it was very hard. But
that exact thing there is why I love Trump from day one, because he can't self-censor. He's not capable. He can't keep secrets normally. Like, it's not his thing, right? This was hard for him, as he's admitting, it was hard for him to do.
Millions of barrels of oil has come out. And that's why it's at $85, $90 a barrel instead of $250. But we have the greatest military in the world, the toughest military in the world, just the best in every way. Nobody even close. There's no military that's even close. I rebuilt it during my first term. I'm using it now. When this conflict is over, Todd said, please call it a conflict, right? As opposed to the word war. He didn't like the word war, but it's sort of a conflict. It's a military operation. When it's over, you will see oil drop.
So BTC Plebinator says, Trump said inflation is a good thing. Yeah, like, of course it's a good thing. We need inflation. That's always what was going to happen. We're going to inflate the debt away and move to a Bitcoin standard. Like, duh, BTC Pleb, did you not, like, anybody home? You think we don't want to, you think we want the US dollar to do great? Oh, no, inflation. Oh, no, inflation. We don't want inflation. It's the worst. Please, let's make the US dollar perform great. And then Plebinator says, they have tech that can't open the Strait of Hormuz. Are you not paying attention? The strait's been fucking open from day one, bozo. From day one, okay? Try a new line. I think you used that one yesterday, Plebinator. It's not working, okay? Fuck Americans, he says. You're not gonna be able to, bro. It's over. BTC Plebinator. Fuck Americans. If you're annoyed by Americans now, the strait isn't open. It's closed. The strait's closed. The Iranian weapons have destroyed us. We can't handle it. I've got the Air Force took off. We got a video. Mario Naufel shared it. We have a video of the Iranian Air Force. Here it is. They have a Tomcat that's 50 years old. It's flying. They're closing the strait with their jet. What are we gonna do? We're not gonna make it. Oh no. Here's Sal Mercogliano telling you how the strait has been closed. So, BTC Plebinator, I know you hate Americans, but what about Sal Mercogliano, right? He's been pretty straight through all of this, and he's been talking about it. You can't actually monitor the ships. Why do I fucking want to monitor the ships? I got American oil. I don't need fucking monitoring the ships. It's all these fucking Chinese people you're worried about. I don't care about their fucking oil, okay? I don't give a shit how much fucking oil they have in UK, Ireland, Sri Lanka. All right, they're on their fucking own. Let them figure it out. But we got oil here for sale, so I don't really care about the Strait of Hormuz. But some people do, and we need it for leverage and all that stuff. Here we see this, the explanation of what Trump has been up to with the oil. Sal Mercogliano breaks it down here in two different threads. He says here, they were basically using, so if I summarize what Sal says, Sal, by the way, has the best YouTube channel, understanding straits and shipping and what's going on. And he's out there monitoring it. I'm not going to be monitoring the fucking Strait of Hormuz. So here he's out and putting this, basically how it worked. So they've got the insurance on a few of the tankers. It's those tankers that are going back and forth, and then they're loading up other boats that are already at sea. So it's the same insurance being recycled again and again as they make the strait. As we understand now, they were using those Apaches, those jets, to escort the ships through, and drones and various other things. So that's what's been going on. Sal breaks the whole project down here and says, how long has it been going on? The question is, how long is it sustainable? They need about 12 to 14 a day for the markets not to notice. But that's the reason why we haven't had all of these huge differences in price. The Dark Fleet 2.0 is operating. Tankers that are making the transits to the straits are probably government owned. I heard from several sources that commercial war risk, that's the one the Americans were offering. Again, why the insurance was a big part of this conversation, why you have to run any analysis of the Strait of Hormuz through the question of the insurance. That was really the point, was to pull that away from the old infrastructure. When the U.S. flagships came out, they had embarked U.S. Navy and Marine Corps teams for secure communications and point defense against drones and fast boats. There are a finite number of those teams, so they may be rotating for some of those ships. While this is working for oil tankers, the ship-to-ship transfers would not work for LNG. That's fine. We'll be able to figure that out. So they got their asses whipped yesterday a bit too. Here's some images of the IRGC. They're doing Iran is winning. I'm winning. Help, I'm winning. This is so much winning. I'm Iran. I'm winning. And here's a funny video for Plebinator. You're gonna like it. So here's Owen Schroyer talking about the war with Gavin McInnes. And Gavin McInnes, now I will say, Gavin McInnes is like me, he is a Quebec Anglo. We are a small breed of people. There aren't many of us. You would recognize a few famous names from the Quebec Anglo community as William Shatner, Norm MacDonald, Gavin McInnes, myself. We're all in a very similar vein of a little bit of humor, a little bit of irreverence, right? I'm not comparing my comedic abilities to any of these three people. But these folks here are all on the same line, and here's what they say. about the war in
If
Iran.
this becomes a war, then I'm off the Trump train. If
How
we
is
do
it?
something
What
stupid,
what are
like,
the metrics?
You fucking give me a chance.
But what are the metrics of a war, Gavin?
I'm not talking if you interrupt me again.
Well, you can't just say.
Yes,
if
I
it becomes
can.
a
Of
war.
course I can.
So what is a war?
I'm allowed to say a thing.
Tell me what is a
Don't
war.
tell me what I can't fucking say.
Tell me what
Let
is a
me
war.
say my sentence for fuck's sake.
What is a war?
Shut the fuck up for 2 seconds, Owen.
Let him answer.
Jesus Christ, man. So right now, and again, there's been no action for a month. That's not a war. There's a standoff going on. And you guys are already calling it a war and leaving after 15 American
Trump called it a
casualties.
war.
Well, it's not. He's wrong.
Okay.
But what
so
if it
Trump-
doesn't
so it's
work
not a-
then? What happens?
It could be the biggest success, the biggest brilliant chess move in the history of
Every
America.
president thinks they can win this.
And that's what it is, guys. It is the biggest. Gavin is a national treasure, bit of an alcoholic. But he's a Gen X Montreal 1990s kid. These guys partied like crazy. These guys were having a great time for years. Fun group and interesting people. That was the original Vice magazine that I never liked. I never liked his stuff. Never a fan. And he's acting like a preteen female. A little bit. So, hold on. I got to get rid of a few of these. I'm running out of space. And indeed, just watching Owen Schroyer in that debate, right? And even, going back to the price, the price of oil and the way Trump used this to manage global markets. Of course, here, where did it go? Here, that's kind of what the story was yesterday, right? News. President Trump says oil did not rise and is around $90 a barrel because a covert U.S. military operation underway during the 2026 Strait Hormuz crisis and Iran conflict moved more than 200 ships carrying over 100 million barrels of oil. That's 3 million barrels a day. Data show tanker traffic gradually resuming through March, April, May, and early June. And that looks like it is what happens. And indeed, seeing this news, seeing how the oil has been flowing and what it means for global markets, you see, and I do think this is where we're headed with all of this, that the war is just about over and it shouldn't be much longer. Here is a Sightbringer saying Trump just now on the Resolute desk. It's fully negotiated. They've agreed. We have to start signing a paper. Now, remember, my prediction was they would keep focusing on the IRGC. Maybe those videos were fake. I agree, BTC Plebinator and anyone else who said videos are fake. I've never told you to trust any video of any kind. I'll take them as a sign generally of what's happening, but I don't hold on to this idea that watching a video is letting you know what's true. Could be fake for sure. And BTC Plebinator also saying Iran and Israel are actually friends behind the scenes. That's what I say all the time. I'm not. But if you think like Israel is one thing, sorry, BTC Plebinator, it's not one thing. It's a fucked up place like America, filled with fucking psychos and mental cases and misanthropic people that want the end of the world and all of that stuff. Iran, Israel, and USA are all working. Yes, I agree with that, BTC Plebinator. I'm that is not inconsistent with my worldview at all. I believe they're all working together. If you believe that any one of these countries is just one thing, like America, like who speaks for America? Is it Joe Biden? Is it Donald Trump? He's barely the president. Barely. He can't even build a fucking ballroom because of the way our system works. There is no one Israel. There is no one UK. There is no America. Everything's divided along these war lines, along the psychological war. That's why you have to look at it psychologically. And Trump is here using this psychological manipulation and the rolling up of the time frame here, the quickening of the pace is what's going on. It totally prohibits them from having a nuclear weapon. It's just tap, tap, tap. We hit them hard yesterday. We're going to hit them hard again today. That is coercive signature extraction. The deal exists at the substance layer. The fight is now over signing, meaning humiliation and enforcement. He is using strikes to end the delay. The bridges and power plants line is the pressure ladder. He is deliberately refusing to rule out state function infrastructure. That tells Iran the next rung is not more radar sites. The next rung makes the state itself feel pain. But not that he refuses to say rather than announces. The threat is the tool. Actually firing it would be a darker phase. This is why Vance can sell a durable long-term deal while Trump talks about breaking Iran's face. Those are not separate strategies. They are a two-voice pressure stack. Vance, the deal is real and long-term. Trump, sign it or the pain expands. Qatar and Pakistan, the bridge. The strikes are the countdown. Iran is almost certainly working with mediators for a last dignity path so the regime can say it did not sign under naked humiliation. They got to give them an off-ramp, right? You got to have everyone walk away saying, we did great. Trump is trying to deny them exactly that. He wants the record to read Iran delayed, got hit, and then signed. Current phase, coercive ratification under infrastructure threat escalation. The deal path is alive and the danger is real. If he actually hits bridges, power, or water at scale, Iran's need to answer rises materially, and the window this is all meant to force starts to burn. The deal is no longer being negotiated in normal time. The deal is being beaten into ceremony. The signature is the object, the strikes are the clock, the humiliation is the wrapper. The remaining question is whether Iran accepts the paper before Trump moves from military degradation to state infrastructure punishment. And that is what is happening. And again, if you're watching all of this and you're not seeing that you're actually dealing with a severe psychological break now that Trump is moving this into the next phase. The psychological break can be seen here. The panicans and doomers are having a colossal meltdown today. They are deeply brainwashed. They cannot fathom a reality where Trump actually knows what he's doing. So whenever Trump shows that he is competent, their brain malfunctions and they start lashing out. It's clockwork. And if anyone thinks that there is no plan, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. You can see all of the staging, all of this stuff. Getting to this part with Besant, with the infrastructure, here is James E. Thorne saying, President Trump proved them wrong again. Now, as bombing intensifies, the regime's foundations are beginning to give way, not only under military pressure, but under financial siege. The key channels of regime finance cut off operations of Secretary Besant. Tehran is discovering what every petro-authoritarian fears most. That the money stops before the missiles do. Yes, the military controls the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, the president will get his deal. And yes, investors will get a peace dividend. It's reported that President spoke directly with Iranian officials tonight who asked him to stop bombing and the solution, sign the deal. This was not on the so-called experts bingo card. Think of the sequence that is now within sight. Maduro gone, the Iranian regime beaten back and potentially broken, and a genuine peace dividend emerging as markets start to price a world less hostage to revolutionary petrostates. For years, the pundit class told us none of this was possible. They said you could conquer, you could never dislodge Maduro without a quagmire. They said you could never bring the Islamic Republic to heel without a ground invasion. They said you could never assert control over Hormuz, keep oil flowing, and still push Iran off the nuclear brink. At every step, they were certain, and at every step, they were wrong. Now they face an awkward question. What will they say as the old certainties collapse in real time? Will they finally admit they misjudged Trump's leverage, misread the vulnerability of these regimes, and misunderstood the strategic use of finance and force? Or will they tie themselves in knots, explaining why the fall of dictators and defeat of a terror-sponsoring regime and an emerging peace dividend are somehow just another Trumpian catastrophe? The record is clear. The only real unknown is what will the pundits get wrong next? So it's just too good. It's just too funny. And, even thinking about Trump and chess and what's going on, again, all of this conflict in Iran is still related to what's going on in the United Kingdom. It's still related to this financial infrastructure. It's still related to how the Brent crude price was being used for price discovery in oil, how the escalation there and the derivatives market there and in the insurance market there really was about controlling escalatory infrastructure in global markets so that Hormuz could be met with this type of choke point financially. And so the actual enemy of this system has moved from the UK to the proxy of Canada, of course. And just another part of that message yesterday, here's Trump talking about how he put the termination clause the last time in 2017 that he did the US-Canada free trade deal, and he pulls out his most sophisticated 4D chess move in history. He is going to rip up the deal with Canada, which we all could see coming, but he planned it for years in advance. Now, the funny thing here about Canada, yesterday they had their central bank meeting, still stuck in the Keynesian brain rot world, right? Central banker Tiff Macklem, he ignored all of my Bitcoin outreach to him in 2016, 2017, when he was the dean of the largest business school in Canada. So have fun staying poor. Tiff Macklem, he's engaged in a familiar technocratic exercise, avoiding the only question that matters. Did the Bank of Canada help push the country into recession? Instead of answering, he hides behind definitional games and bureaucratic evasions. The economics are straightforward under a Wixelian framework, the neutral rate. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Canada's economy just going to go downhill. Macklem can continue to argue about the definitions. The country, meanwhile, is living with the diagnosis. Keynesian brain rot was on full display in Canada today. And the Keynesian brain rot has brought them into such a bad position because it gets so much worse for Canada in many ways. And you can see this proxy war going on between the City of London and America begin to really play out in many interesting ways. Here, Carney's going to the grocery store yesterday, right? Because of the economy's trouble. Here he is in the grocery store. This is the second time he's made a grocery store visit in the last 2 weeks. As we're reminded here, politicians doing grocery store photo ops is never a good sign. He's doing the grocery store photo ops. Asian trade officials, also all those deals that Trump, that he was trying to create around Trump. He's been let know by the Asian trade officials the only reason they're interested in Canada is because of the access to the U.S. market. I've been telling you for a long time, Canada is a hot dog stand outside of an American football stadium. And guess what? If Canada's looking for a new hot dog supplier, and they're like, "Hey, we sell hot dogs outside of the Dallas Cowboys stadium," and then the Asian guys are great. Yeah, we'll supply you with wieners. And he's like, okay, great. But actually, we're not going to be opening up outside of the stadium anymore. We're going to go open up in a cornfield in the middle of nowhere. And the guys are like, well, why would we sell you the hot dogs anymore? You don't have a market. And that's what Canada's experiencing right now. They can't sell hot dogs unless the football game says you can sell them outside. That's what people want, access to the football game. Here you're seeing it again. Asian trade officials remind Canada all deals are contingent on access to the USA. What? So Mark Carney not doing great, right? Not doing great. Here he is 2 weeks ago while in New York City. Carney went on bragging about how Canada is propping up Ukraine against Russia. 2 weeks later, this is what happened. And this is pretty much the end of Canada. It is coming. It is coming, guys. Here's the end. Yesterday, the Russians here had the following to say about Canada. The Director of Information and Press Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation. Canada made an agreement with Ukraine to build drones in Canada. Some will be built for Ukraine, they suppose. They arranged to establish a production facility for strike and reconnaissance unmanned aerial vehicles on its territory. Canada has moved to a qualitatively new level of involvement in the Ukrainian crisis. Warmonger seeking to further fuel the Russian-Ukraine conflict by all possible means has been laid bare. We reserve the right to an adequate response, and we will factor these new circumstances into our military political planning. So Canada is now at war with Russia. Good job, Canada. So I've told you before, do we see American Union by 2028? Yes, BTC Plebinator. Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. I don't think Canada makes it. I don't think they make it through the year, honestly. I still can't see Canada existing throughout 2026. 2028, almost for sure. Almost for sure. This whole proxy war with the UK thing is getting rolled up really quickly. And you can see here, it's getting exposed on every level. The British piece of this, the Mark Carney piece of it in Ukraine, really is this story. Here is Susan Kokinda yesterday talking about all of this stuff. here saying this the Zelensky poison pill. So Zelensky, within that peace negotiation, had mentioned that they were trying to kick the Americans out, and they said it's going to be the actual people who can do something, the Europeans, the guarantors, he said. So they want America out of the deal, and they want to bring the Europeans, and they're the people that are affected by it, he says. So pretty funny stuff. But here's the full frame talking about how to get out of this trouble.
Back at the table.
Let me know. I'll shorten this. And again, she says nations, not proxies. Canada's become a proxy. Ukraine's a proxy. The EU's a proxy. And again, go back to the World Cup idea. And I said England, Wales, Scotland, they all have teams. That is the nationhood of the British Isles. There is no UK. It's fake. It's as fake as the EU. It's as fake as Canada. It's as fake as any of these shitholes that are around. And here we see from Susan Kokinda this reemergence of sovereign nations. Now, as a Bitcoiner, and I believe in the sovereign individual thesis, one of the ways we're going to get to sovereign individuality is through absorbing and embracing the decentralized American system, in that states' rights are not subordinate to federal rights. They are co-equal, and sovereignty runs through states. Sovereignty through a smaller state is a trickle down to the individual eventually. As we move to a full Bitcoin standard, we're going to get there. We're going through this. We're going through it the way we came into it. We created the states model. It turned into the federal government being the major leagues, the states being the minor leagues. We're going to go back to co-equal, but we'll do the full rotation, maybe in our lifetimes, back to sovereign individuality as the actual organizing principle. But first, we're going to do it through actual sovereign states, not transnational federated agglomerations, not more sludge organizations that are all there for the money system and to be close to the printer.
That's one front. Now watch what happens on the other. The same imperial architecture operates in the Mideast. Different proxies. And in the Mideast, the empire has been cultivating proxies for a long time, since it created the Muslim Brotherhood and revisionist Zionism and other radical formations. Same management. And for decades, the American establishment has played its assigned role as one of the biggest proxies in an eternal great game. Donald Trump's recent national security strategy says no. We're a sovereign nation, and we look at each nation as equal, and Israel is on the same footing as our Arab allies. Here's how the NSS describes our new position in the Mideast. The United States retains the most enviable position, reinforced by President Trump's successful revitalization of our alliances in the Gulf with other Arab partners and with Israel. Our Arab partners and with Israel. And yes, Israel has its interests, and we have ours, as J.D. Vance drilled down on that in his interview with Jesse Waters.
The Israelis in the United States, we have a lot of shared interests, but we also have some situations where our interests diverge. And I think where the president has been very clear here is that while Israel obviously has some objectives that it has, the United States' main objective in Iran is to ensure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. And we've actually, thanks to what's happened over the last few months, but really over the last year and a half, we've created the space necessary where the president believes, and I think that he's right, that we can get the long-term settlement to Iran's nuclear deal. Now, Israel may like that, they may not like that, but fundamentally, we think this is in the best interest of the United States of America.
Did you catch that? They may like that, they may not. The Vice President of the United States just said out loud that Israel's preferences are not the driver of America's policy. And this comes on the heels of the president's leaked F-bomb-laden confrontations with Bibi Netanyahu and administration revelations that Israel may be spying on Trump's Iran negotiators. So this is different. This is not the stuff of Israel runs the United States narrative, which occupies so much of the social media universe. The United States has its own strategy now. We're acting in our interests, not off of the old geopolitical playbook. And this is exactly what terrifies them. Because if Trump can treat Iran as a nation, not a proxy, and get a deal that's stronger than a bomb, the entire architecture is exposed as unnecessary. And that architecture is being exposed in Ukraine, where King Charles and Starmer and Mertz and Macron and the think tanks keep their proxy in the game long after a settlement could have been made. Trump is setting new rules, one where sovereign nations are the principals, not global elites directing their pawns. A world where Iran could function as a nation again, where Russia is allowed to have legitimate interests, and Israel functions in the actual interests of its people. That's the fight Promethean.
And you want to see this normalization, like Russia threatening Canada is within their reason. They're allowed to do that. And I do like to see, I'm no fan of a lot of what Candace Owens is doing here, but that trip she took to Russia and coming out and saying Russia is, a lie. I'm not a big fan of Russia. There's a response here by Last Refuge about what Russia is really like. I haven't been to Russia in 20 something years, and the Russia I went to is very different than the Russia today. But I'll tell you, Russia is not it's not a great place either, right? I remember being in a hotel right across from Red Square and just going into my hotel that night. Of course, you get a girl banging on your door, trying to get her pimp in there to threaten you and trying to get in to make money. I mean, like fully coming after you to make money and stuff like that. She looks like a burnt alien. She does. But I just want to say that it's important to keep your mind elastic enough, right? I know a lot of people hate Candace Owens right now, and I think rightfully for a lot of ways because of the thing with Charlie Kirk. But we all have to keep our mind elastic. And if she does something in this case that I agree with, which I do, I don't want to hate Candace Owens. I don't. I'm not interested in finding new people to hate. We have enough hate with all these fucking people that tried to kill us and throw us into fucking re-education camps and shit like that. We have enough enemies out there, and I don't know what Candace is up to. I don't think it's a scam necessarily. I think she believes a lot of this stuff. So if she's not lying, she's just wrong. How angry do we need to be? Now, again, she saw the sanitized version of Russia, of course. Russia is one of these places where if you're poor and you drank too much one night, you're going to wake up missing a kidney. It's not a good place. It's got a lot of problems, right? And this guy here gets into a lot of what he noticed about, it's a long thread, so I won't read it all. But here he is, he's got a long threads here. He's been going to Russia a few times since the war to just analyze what the people are up to. This is what I spent most of my days doing in Russia, driving on these river boats, going around, visiting the city. I was there for 2 weeks, so I didn't see too much, just drinking and eating and all that kind of stuff. Food is real cheap there, always has been. But the point here is that, seeing Russia have its own interests, they're a sovereign country. We don't have to run everything that Russia thinks and does through some kind of a mind reading, transnational infrastructure to spew out some kind of anti-Russian opinion. They're allowed to have interests. BTC Webinar said she's an actor. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't mind read them. I don't know what she's up to. I don't trust her. Right. That's for sure. I don't trust, but it's more that I don't trust her worldview. I don't think, maybe she's lying. I don't know. It just doesn't matter. I'm not hinging any of my opinions. The even reason I'm bringing her up is because I just want to show that and set an example that all of these people that are out there causing all of this trouble, or not causing all this trouble, that's the wrong way to put it. I watched a great interview with Tucker yesterday with that Orthodox priest about the demons and the possession and all that stuff. Not a lot of other people out there doing that stuff. So, I won't even, and I didn't watch it for the politics. I just wanted to hear what he had to say. And I thought it was a very fascinating interview from 2 weeks ago. And I love that demon stuff and the Timothy Alberino stuff and all of it. So, no, I'm bringing up Candace Owens just to show it's important as we go through this last ditch World War III frame that we're in, this world that we're in. It's important to keep the neuroplasticity. It's important to not create these intense hallucinated ideas. You know, I liked Candace Owens' content a lot 2 years ago. Always told you it was entertainment. I never took her as a news person. When the Becoming Brigitte thing came out, I said, this is entertainment, guys. Remember, the documentary is the lowest form of persuasion, the lowest form of media, because it's designed to give you one point of view. They're not designed to give you an objective point of view. The whole point is to just give you their point of view without a rebuttal. So it's the lowest and least credible form of news. And when she did the Becoming Brigitte, if you go back and watch the tape, every time I said, this is hell of an entertaining show, but it's probably fake. And, actor, yeah, I guess that's one way to say it. But again, the point is, I expect you to see you in the Fuentes chat room now, Nolan, says CB Van. Again, the point is to keep the neuroplasticity lively and be ready to, have deep convictions about things, but don't get too anchored into every little bit of your worldview, and to see a more pleasant side of things, right? You'll need that neuroplasticity. Now, going back to these transnational organizations, and just as I said, Canada has come up with this fight against Russia. They're not going to win. It's not good for Canada. Europe also now going to be further in trouble. So you're seeing all of this old infrastructure really die off now. Europe is preparing its public for something it has avoided for years, a real trade war with China. Way to go. No complaints, not carefully worded statements, an honest to goodness trade war. Brussels has already held closed door meetings. The Made in Europe framework is launched. Officials are publicly saying the relationship is no longer sustainable. Privately, they are accepting the obvious. If Europe moves, China retaliates. This is not about protectionism. It's about survival. Europe's industries are under pressure. The old assumption that cheap Chinese goods were always a benefit is breaking down. China is not exporting because it is strong. China is exporting because it's broken. Households not spending, property still falling, credit collapsing, investment crashing. China's factories produce more than its economy can absorb. So the excess goes outward. The world becomes the release valve. China faces an impossible choice: cut production and crush the domestic economy further, or keep exporting and push the pain onto everyone else. There is no third option. Europe is the first major economy to say it will not keep absorbing it. No, that's not true. America did. Trade wars are about to go global. Remember when they said Trump was wrong? Now Europe's got to do it, but they're too weak anyway, and it's just not going to work. And again, that's why looking at these economic flows, the oil is important. Looking at the global financial system and the supranational, extraterritorial, jurisdictional, unbound system of the markets that were created to govern the world because sovereign nations were not trusted to do it again anymore. That's why all power was put into these financial constructs, into these financial mechanisms. It's a natural end state of fiat, of course, is to absorb power into their institutions and remove it from the more human-based, human-organized institutions like a sovereign ethnic nation state. And so you have to be able to see, just like I said with Iran, the whole point was looking at what was actually happening. Remember, the oil going to China was the tell. The oil being stopped from the Gulf Coast to Europe was the tell. The insurance contract was the tell. That's who you saw who the real enemy was when America was fighting this thing. It was everything hiding behind nation states. Remember, Israel was created by the City of London in order to have a fake country, a fake sovereign state that they could push forward and that would take responsibility for everything they were doing under the hood, behind the sovereign nation. They had the central bank. That was the principal reason why the Rothschilds set up the state of Israel. They needed their own sovereign bank, and they got it. And that's how they were able to hide a lot of this stuff. And again, we're finding out more of this infrastructure, City of London, Israel, Europe, through this conflict. That's why you see Canada now getting, basically left out to dry. Europe, the UK, China even, they're all going to have trouble with this. But the financial stuff is important. And here, again, where all this deep state and financial stuff come together is really around the Bill Pulte and Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, now part of national security, that story. Because the truth is, and this is what launches Bitcoin, this is what launches us into World War III, is the 2008 financial crisis, because this was a consolidation of this supranational infrastructure, this financial control system that was really descended on America, on Europe. That's where this stuff really started. And here you're seeing this come true. Tom Luongo talking about it. And you wonder why I've been saying that Obama and London stole Fannie and Freddie in '08. This is what they were ultimately doing under the hood. And they stole this from Americans, using Lehman as a cover for the theft. Answer these questions and you'll see what I'm getting at. Why was Lehman liquidated / executed by Hank Paulson? Why was AIG, London-based reinsurer, bailed out multiple times? Why did all of this happen 7 days after a report said Fannie and Freddie were insolvent and nationalized? 2008 was 9/11 for the U.S. mortgage industry times 12. And that's where a lot of this stuff was put in place. That's where a lot of this stuff was created, and why we're living in this system now, why we're living in the fiat apocalypse. They brought it on themselves, and that's why the Pulte thing is such a big deal. Here, Trump talking about Pulte yesterday, just like they did on border funding, the radical left Democrats are trying to take our national security hostage because of unrelated issues. They should stop playing politics with the safety of our great nation. They keep saying he's a housing guy. What does he know about the deep state? What does he know? Right? Well, obviously, it was exactly what Luongo said. That's what explains this framework. You don't have to hallucinate anymore to understand why does the housing guy go into national security, because he fucking knows how they're cheating. Right? Confirmed Trump is putting Pulte in charge as acting DNI, fully aware that he'll eventually nominate someone to replace him 210 days later on January 15th, 2027. Translation, Bill is going to be free to work with Trump to fuck some shit up in the interim, and all in the best ways possible. Better yet, there's nothing the Dems can do to stop him / them from getting what he needs to be done. He's firing deep state people. He's literally draining the swamp. And again, we all know that what he's doing here is related to voter integrity. So it's all about the election system. And here again, you see Trump playing. The people are like, Trump's an idiot. How many more examples do you need? How many more? Here's Trump again. USPS just flipped the script on mail-in voting, which comes straight from Trump's March executive order to secure elections. States must hand over their full mail-in and absentee voter list plus every ballot's personalized barcode, or risk the U.S. Postal Service stopping delivery entirely. Again, what I do predict will happen is they're not even going to seat these people anymore. You are going to get a type of civil war in America, but that's a good thing. It's not going to be people killing each other. It's going to be states that say they're not going to be sat with the federal government, just like they weren't sat during the U.S. Civil War the first time. They're not going to recognize them. Congress does not have to recognize any fake California state election. We don't need any congressmen from California until they run legit elections. So while they can steal from Pratt, while they can steal from Hilton, it is not going to get recognized. This is going to be, again, a states' rights thing, because states are going to have to wake up to their own sovereignty, responsibilities, and obligations. And they're not going to be able to sit as these unaccountable, insubordinate junior partners to the federal government. They're going to have to actually grow up. It gets better. It gets better. Trump, with the bill yesterday, also says no other president has ever been more committed to both rebuilding our great military and saving our great country. And now is the time to make it happen for generations to come. I am hereby calling on Republicans in Congress to immediately advance and pass the forthcoming $350 billion U.S. trash token reconciliation bill, which, at the request of our great Department of War, will include the Department of War asking for the SAVE Act in the bill. National security. That's why national security runs through Bill Pulte now. And as you know, I only really approve these guys when they're people that I know and that I've had booked for the Bitcoin conference before. And just like the last director of national intelligence was someone I booked for the show, the new one is someone I booked for the show. So they get my vote of approval as a event organizer and programmer. I feel good that I always choose directors of national security that are here to save the country and the economy as speakers at my events. And he was very cute, by the way, Bill Pulte. He was like, because he was like not confident about what he was going to say, and was asking my colleague Alex McShane about, is it okay if I talk about this? Is before he was in cabinet. This was all this kind of stuff, and we love him, right? He's a cool guy. So that's why, indeed, oh my gosh, Scott Presser, another speaker I booked for the Bitcoin event in 2024. One of the ways that we got to Trump, by the way, I booked him very early before he'd even been hired by Lara Trump. I thought he would have a role because I knew that voter integrity was going to motivate the Republican Party, and that Bitcoiners understood don't trust, verify in terms of voter integrity, which was really how we were able to connect with the administration or the campaign. He says, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. President Trump just called for the Save America Act to be attached to Budget Reconciliation 3.0. Reconciliation packages only require a simple majority in the Senate. That means that we could secure our elections with 51 votes. I didn't see this coming. Very clever of Trump to lay it all on the line. Here's Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels I find interesting because, you know, most of the people that came in on the Trump train and are now saying, oh, Israel controls them, these were kind of all the group of people that were not around. You know, they were mostly shit libs that were not around in 2016, that were definitely not around in 2020. They were all too busy at George Floyd Black Lives Matter protests, or buying new masks, or getting their vaccine appointments, or whatever the fuck it was they were doing at that time. And they were the same folks who reluctantly, you know, you had all these Bitcoiners that really wanted to hate Trump because they had come from the shit lib industrial complex. And because it was so obvious that the vast majority of Bitcoiners were supporting Trump in the 2024 election, they loved this Iran war because it was like, finally, now the group of people that hate Trump are growing. And it was a lot of these people like Jillian Michaels that were part of this. They were kind of liberals, and then they became Trump supporters at the last minute, or the Maha set, you know, some of the Maha people, you know, that already hate RFK because I guess he has Jewish friends or had been to Israel, or they say he touched the wall or something like that too. But Jillian Michaels stands out because she's one of the only ones that has actually gone further in her embrace of MAGA. And so here she is talking about Trump.
I gotta be honest, it seems to me that he is the only one standing between us and the complete loss of free and fair elections. You know, I used to think that Trump was insane for suggesting that the 2020 election was stolen. And now,
I mean, yeah. Well, obviously it was stolen.
I'm actually not so sure.
Not so sure.
Because these animals in California are not just changing election law, they're changing what elections actually are. And California is not the end of this story, it's the blueprint. And here's the thing. Everything we just walked through, that's the surface. That's the part that's documented, that's litigated, that's on the record and already legal. So no matter how nefarious or corrupt it may be, they made it legal. But here's what they didn't count on. They didn't count on us. They didn't count on this. The fact that 30 million Californians now have a roadmap. Not a rumor, not a conspiracy theory, but a documented, sourced, time-stamped account of exactly how this is done and exactly who did it. And you can't unknow this. And they can't unbuild what they built in the dark now that it's standing in the light. And the fight for California is the fight for the country, guys. And it starts with conversations like this one.
And exactly. And this is what's happening. People are waking up to this vote count thing, and none of the reactions by the sludge people have any persuasion behind them. And the same persuasion tricks that worked in 2020, you're doubting the elections, but the courts said, the courts looked into it. Remember what I said when they were saying the courts looked into it? I said, do you think the courts can look into this? Like, do you think, I mean, I was never really a lawyer, but I did work in courts and did spend time in courts and all that kind of stuff. And I know exactly the limitations of lawyers and judges and how smart they are and what they're capable of and what they can do. And it's not so different than any other profession or any other job. There's high IQs, sure. Right? There's high IQ, sure, but they don't know how to do like a forensic audit of a software, decentralized software system. Like, they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to answer the questions. Was it the firmware? Was it the hardware? Was it the software? What was it? They have no idea what any of those things are. They have no clue what they are. How could they look into it? So that was the argument for, and the courts looked into it. No court looked into anything ever. They just said, okay, even if this is right, they said you don't have standing, because even if you're right about these 5,000 ballots, what they did was, the trick the courts used was, every time there was one complaint, they looked at the total potential of that one complaint to change the election. And if it wasn't enough to change the entire election, which they never are, because it's 1,000 here, 5,000 there, 10,000 there, 2,000 here, 100 there. And if you keep doing that, right, none of them have standing to actually affect the result. That was the logic they used. They didn't look, but if you add them all up, it's a catastrophe, right? It definitely changes the result. That's all they did. They just treated every one of them as a singular. And then they went, okay, that's not enough. You don't have standing. That wouldn't change the election. You don't count. You don't count. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's what they used every time. So when they say the courts looked into it, they never looked into it, ever. That never happened. Ever. That never happened in 2020. The courts looked into one case and simply said, if we rule in your favor and you're right, it wouldn't make a difference. So it's not worth it. So you didn't actually suffer prejudice. You didn't actually have a complaint. And that's what standing is. Standing is, you have to come, just like in civil litigation or criminal litigation, you have to show damage, like a civil litigation, right? You got to show, oh, this motherfucker cut off my arm. I make $100,000 a year lifting boxes, and now I'm missing an arm. So this motherfucker owes me because I can't do my job. So you show the damages, you measure the damages, and then you judge the actions against the damages. That's how civil court judgments work for punitive rewards. And it's the same in logic applied to this. What damage did you suffer if you were aware of 1,000 votes being stolen? None, because the person won by 10,000. So you didn't suffer anything. Your future was the same, whether they stole these 1,000 votes or not. That was the logic the courts looked into. That's it. That's all they did. Every one of them is the same. Every single 2020 court judgment was that. Wouldn't make a difference anyway. You didn't suffer. No one cut your arm off. No one hobbled you. The net result of what you experienced in terms of loss for Trump is the same now as then. So, so there you go. And the ability to persuade this time won't go through that avenue. Here's Gavin Newsom. Here's Glenn Beck picking up exactly on that in this video. And here it is. He's got the perfect way of describing it, right? I'm not going to play the whole video, but he says, apparently Gavin Newsom is now asking election officials to count ballots faster to prevent election lies from taking hold. Wait. Who gave Newsom the power to declare the questioning whether election fraud is happening is an election lie, especially when his allies just passed a provision that tells election observers they can't challenge signatures on the ballots they're watching get counted? Newsom didn't criminalize your doubt. He did something quieter. He turned down the lights in the room where the counting happens and declared that it's a conspiracy theory to ask why it's so dark. No government should be the arbiter of truth ever, especially when the question on the table is about the government itself. You cannot let the accused run the evidence room. But for Newsom, he believed the evidence room is his, and it's not going to work this time. People have figured it out. Matt Taibbi here says, people acting like we didn't institute radical changes to elections in 2020 to 2022, it's infuriating. And we're seeing it more and more, and the tricks just aren't working. And that is the good news. I thought I had one more election integrity thing here. Let me see. I thought I had one more. Where did it go? Where did this thing go? Sometimes they don't transfer. This is a battery now. Come on. Well, I thought I had one more election thing here. I don't know where it went, so I'm going to have to skip it. No, I don't know where it went. Anyway, I thought I had another. Israel is realizing its place in the system. I don't think it's what they expected. No, I don't think it is. I don't think it's. We are fixing to be so annoying. You got it. Methodists are still a lost cause. Probably, Tommy DOU. Probably. You can pretty spew out bullshit as long as you include experts. Exactly. Go Knicks, go. People loving the Knicks. Here's someone who's loving the Knicks. I want to see a funny moment yesterday from Seinfeld. He was asked, "Can I get a free Palestine?" It doesn't exist, he says. Okay, what else do I got? Well, anyway, I was going to talk about this Dario letter for AI too, but I think I'm going to skip it. Except to say that David Sachs has it perfect. This is the one where we should stop, he says. We should stop developing AI. Here he says, Anthropic is running a sophisticated regulatory capture strategy based on fear mongering. This take was controversial at the time. Now look how many people are saying it. Looks like it. I wish it were just strategic. Business move to cut off competition. It goes deeper, and C.S. Lewis has the words for it. Yeah, could be. Could be. All right, I'll bring up the chat again because I want to get to a couple chat points, and then we shall this tab instead. There we go. BTC Plebinator says, I think they will redraw the lines of the Middle East, and lots of countries in the Middle East won't exist anymore, like Israel, like they did during World War II. No, I think part of the deal is that Israel gets to live on, except it's going to be given to the Saudis, more or less, through economic containment and economic connections. I do think the map is going to be redrawn somewhat, and I do think that the Christians are going to get a country. I think that a piece of Jerusalem, a piece where Bethlehem is, basically Bethlehem is in the suburbs of Jerusalem, right? It's pretty close to Jerusalem. I think that's going to become a third state in the area, and it will become a Christian state, and they'll be there to keep the peace. And that the Muslim states, the West Bank and Gaza, are going to be handed to the Saudis directly. That's how the Saudi relationship is going to, or the Emirates, I'm not sure. They're going to create something not like a sovereign country, though, something like a subordinate kingdom to one of the larger Middle Eastern kingdoms. And that would be a sovereign country, but it won't be its own country. There's not going to be like a Palestine country. There'll be a Palestine city-state type situation, with most sovereignty running through whatever king ends up getting it. I don't think it'll be Jordan. I think there's numerous reasons why Jordan isn't the right fit. Likely going to be Saudi. But the important factor is that the Christians are going to get a country. So I do believe that the borders will change, but to something more natural, to something more fitting of what they ought to have been from the very beginning, and not the great game British system they set up so that everyone would guarantee to fight in the future. And indeed, Iran is going to be part of that. Iran is going to be a huge part of that. We need Iran as a real sovereign nation in the world. Again, it's a great thing. Probably Lebanon. I don't think Lebanon can do it either, because Lebanon has the smallest but still existing Christian population, and they don't want to dilute the Christian population there anymore. So yeah, Lebanon will be the Christian country. Oh, I understand. Yeah. Could be. No, I don't think so, because here's the problem. All the brainwashing that went in with the Zionist revisionism in Christian churches in America created such a crazy mental illness around it, and there's so much energy bound to Israel in American churches that it's got to go somewhere. It's not, you can't erase it entirely. If you try to erase it entirely, you're going to get a similar situation to what you see with all these people chimping out about Trump and he doesn't have a plan. You're going to get a severe cognitive dissonance on the part of many, many Americans. So energy is a thing that you've got to manage here. And where do you put the energy? So the energy's got to go somewhere. And if it's just left to fester in America as if their whole life was a lie, it's going to create some severe mental illness that I don't think anyone wants to see. So how do you figure out where to put that energy? If you give them a country in Israel, they can put, it'll be the perfect solution. All the energy goes there. And if all the energy goes there, now there's already, like, the Mormons own a bunch of Jerusalem as it is, right? The whole Mount of Olives, Mount Scopus to Mount Olives is all Mormon. I don't know if you guys know that. The Mormons have like tremendous real estate in the Middle East. Which is primarily where a lot of this, you know how the Jews they don't allow DNA tests because they're all Russians. None of them are fucking Semites at all. Because that's the fucked up thing about Israel. You put a bunch of Russians into the Middle East, and what do you expect is going to happen? I mean, it's not going to work out, right? So that's why they don't allow genetic tests, because they know none of these people are Semites at all. They're all Ashkenazi Russian Jews. And so one of the strange things is, do you know all these genetic companies like the Ancestry.com? You know, the Mormons own everything when it comes to the DNA history. Oh, except my beautiful state of Quebec here, which has it's the most vital and integral DNA records in the world, family records and DNA records on Earth that are not owned by the Mormons. But the Mormons own everything else. Funny, huh? Isn't that hilarious that all those DNA companies, for some reason, they're all Mormon? I can't explain it. I don't know why. But they own that whole valley in Jerusalem as it is. They're always there. They're not going anywhere. So Bethlehem, I think, you know, because the Jews, because the Mormons already have a big footprint, and the Christians and the Mormons simply can't work together on this stuff. That wouldn't work either. So I think they get Bethlehem. I think Bethlehem will become a breakaway situation, and we'll see. Seriously, life in the Middle East should be much better than fix Africa. Yeah, it's the imperial nature of all of this, right? The imperial nature of all of this. Speaking of imperial nature, I know someone who's not imperial. That is Hank Hudson. Hank loves the non-imperial, revolutionary, bottom-up framework.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. What's going on the Great Awakening today, Nolan? Always good to see you.
Yeah, well, we were talking about what we heard about in the video yesterday, all the secret oil that was coming out of the Middle East. And 100 million barrels that Trump managed to get through. It was never actually closed, which is what I was saying for a long time.
It's a good book title, Secret Oil.
Secret Oil. The secret oil. So we talked about the secret oil. We talked about the, so last week, the Prime Minister of Canada was going around the world bragging about all the help they're giving to Ukraine. So today Russia was like, you're now part of the war for this, by the way. If you're
Whoops. Open mouth, insert foot.
We had a good time. We covered the, I don't know if you saw the images of the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona opening the church. You got to check that out if you haven't.
Did they finally finish that thing?
Kind of. It's not quite done. There's a few more things, but yeah, they did the Pope was there yesterday. They did a big papal service and they opened it up. They did some America stuff at the end with fireworks but just the choir and the lighting, I mean, you're never going to see, it's just incredible, right? So that opening, and then the World Cup opening in America tomorrow, but in Mexico today. So the World Cup launches today.
Exciting.
We covered a lot of sports today. The congressional baseball game went on, so we covered the congressional.
The Knicks game last night. Did you watch that?
Night. We had the highlights. We put the highlights on. Theater. So we did a bit of a sports ball intro to the show today because of all the sports ball that was going on between the congressional game, NBA Finals, World Cup, and the ceremonies at the Sagrada Familia. So it was a little bit of a different show today, but we had a good time.
Nice. Well, We got a pretty exciting show today, too. We're going to miss you, but we do have two nice stewards of the space that will be taking up your normal spot today with Max Kaiser and Stacey Herbert.
That's amazing. Yeah, I saw that. I noticed that because I just was flipping through and when you know the stupid thing on Twitter where the first thing you do when you open the app and then it goes away.
Yeah, I know
right?
what you mean. I hate that too.
So I got that one for like one split second. I was like, but I couldn't see the day, so I'm glad to hear it today. Are they coming right away, or
they're coming right after the show here? They're going to be
out
on next. So very exciting.
Well, we love Max and Stacey, guys. Everyone, stick around for Max and Stacey. I'm sure you're going to hear some amazing things. Let's get our update on El Salvador, our update on Russia, our update on what's going on, and we love Max and Stacey. So everyone, go join Hank and stick around for some Max and Stacey. Amazing stuff. Very
and then
fun.
an hour two, it might get even more combustible. We got Walker America and G Money in the house.
Yes,
G Money's around. We have some fun times
today. He's going to be on fire. There's so much Trump stuff in the news and all that today. He's going to be having a great time. It's a good day for Trump, so it's going to be a lot of fun for G Money.
It is. Well, Nolan, I'm going to let you wrap up. I think I got to chug a couple of Monster Energy drinks before this show today. It's going to be a wild one. Enjoy your day. We'll miss you.
One more amazing thing, because I love these Star Wars AI videos.
Oh, yeah.
They just did a new one of Anakin being addicted to Monster Energy drinks.
Oh, incredible. You're going to have to forward that to me. I need to see that.
It's too good.
Hey, guys, good for something. See you guys. Thanks.
There's Hank, everyone. You heard Hank. Go check out Max and Stacey and G Money coming up right after here on Roxham TV. If you're on the chat channel, head over there. If you're on the Roxham channel, stick around. All the entertainment is coming up to you. I'm about to end the broadcast, play the logo, and show the thanks for watching screen. I just want to tell you, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow, everyone. Peace.